We're with the mayor, Bruce Knell. You know, you've had a pretty rough year, but on the other hand, a pretty uplifting year in the sense that few people get to walk away from plane crashes. I want to go back to what had you going down toward Utah and just take me back to a little bit of that day.
Sure. Every year for the last 20 plus years, I play in a golf tournament with a contingency of men from the great state of Wyoming. And we left Casper that morning at about 10 o'clock in the morning in our plane, and we were flying down to spend our week down there for the golf. And 2 miles short of the runway, down we went. And, you know, luckily the human brain has an ability to help protect us in times like this. And so I don't remember a lot of what happened.
Was there any first indication that something was wrong?
It just quit. It just stopped running. And I remember that part of it. I remember immediately going into emergency
No sound
protocol.
of an engine?
It stopped. It just quit. Everything stopped. The alarm went off. I immediately went into emergency protocol, trying to get the plane to restart, trying to find a glide path, just to very little to no success. And you know, to this day, I almost believe I lost a rudder, because we went nose down, and that's very unusual in a private plane like that. You can usually glide out, and well, we fell 3,700 feet in 7 seconds, so that's 500 feet per second. We're diving to the ground nose first, and I just remember standing on my feet and pulling on that yoke as hard as I could, and the nose came up right as we hit at 220 miles an hour. There is, by the grace of God, we are here. I believe I was literally spared to do more of his work. And so there's no other reason, none.
FAA, has anybody come out with a report yet on it?
Not yet. They said it could take up to 2 years. The National Transportation Safety Board, the FAA, preliminarily, they're saying I had plenty of fuel on board. So they're just not quite sure yet. My guess is
no bad weather?
No, the weather was beautiful. It was 70 degrees and sunny, and I believe I probably lost, the way I lost power, my guess, and I couldn't get it to turn over. I'm guessing I lost a cylinder in the motor, is my guess, but I'm no mechanic, so we're going to wait for their report, but very puzzling.
So the next thing you know, it comes one of the inspectors, right?
Well,
best you can tell, you said you talked to somebody, but you didn't know.
The first responders from the Washington
City Fire Department,
which Washington is a suburb of St. George, they were the first ones to come upon us, and I don't remember any of that. They said we were both alert and talking. I don't remember. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the hospital in St. George, and my wife was not there, and they had life flighted her to Las Vegas, so we were separated. And at the time, the nurse didn't know where my wife was, and so my initial thought was that she had perished, and they didn't want to tell me. And so that was the worst.
Oh my God, what a...
It was the worst. And in fact, I tried to get out of bed, and of course my back was, I didn't have a back at that time, and so I hit the floor, and they sedated me, and then when I woke up the next day, they were able to tell me that she was alive and in Las Vegas.
What were the extent of the injuries at the time? And
much worse for my wife. She had broken ankles, broken legs, broken back, broken neck, sternum. She had a brain bleed. She was hanging on by a thread. I was unbelievably, other than my back being broken, I had one burst fracture in my back, and I broke my sternum. That's it.
No, but you said they did put rods in.
They did put rods in my back and to stabilize. The burst fracture, unfortunately, was in the middle, and so they were able to stabilize that. But since it's been almost a year, it's been 11 months, my back has healed so well. In fact, just last month, they took the rods out of my back, so I am completely rod-free. I'm back in the gym, working out, doing like it never happened. It's almost unbelievable.
How's your better half doing?
She is another story. She just had a surgery 3 weeks ago, and they re-broke her back in several places, and they installed rods that go literally from her tailbone all the way to her neck. And so to hold her into one piece, but she's on the mend. Her spirits are fantastic. In fact, my wife's a local attorney here in Casper who had retired and has since decided that she's bored, and so we just reopened her law office, and she's going back to work. So,
well, that's a good story to hear.
It's a blessing.
But she's, I mean, are you feeling pain on a kind of windy, kind of cold day in Casper, Wyoming?
No, I would say I'm going to have a certain amount of soreness probably for the rest of my life. When I get up, I think I grunt and I groan a little bit, and you know, body's been through an awful lot. But for all intents and purposes, I'd say I'm 95% back, really. I still got about 20 pounds to put on, but I'm getting there.
So I want to ask you a question, but you know what? We're going to do that in part 2. When we come back, we're talking with the mayor about that fateful day when the plane went down, but he is here and alive and in the flesh and still kicking. All right, Mr. Mayor, we'll be back.